What is up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today we're going to be talking about what we still do not know regarding the EIDL program. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what we still do and still do not know regarding this program, with not only the loan portion of the program, but also the $10,000 cash advance as well. So let's get started. So before we begin, if you guys are interested in learning about what we still do not know regarding the PPP, I did a video on that yesterday. I will link it down in the description below and you guys can check that out. But I'm going to be essentially doing the same thing in today's video, but regarding the EIDL program rather than the PPP. So you guys already know that a $900 billion stimulus package has already been passed, and it was passed now about 2 weeks ago. But even though it was passed just about 2 weeks ago, there are still a lot of questions that we still do not have answers to, regarding different timelines, the application process, and so much more. So I feel like it's important to break down what we still do not know as a collective group, because I feel like there's a lot of confusion on kind of where people are missing information and whether it's because the person just doesn't have that information or if it's because just the information hasn't been released yet. And with that, the number one thing that we still do not know regarding the EIDL program is the actual application process for the cash advance. Now, the loan portion of the program is up and running as we speak. I mean, you could theoretically go onto the SBA's website and apply for a low interest loan right now, today, on January of 2021. But the cash advance portion of the program is what so many of you guys are interested in learning about. And this is something that we still do not know to this day. We don't know when the application is going to open. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. We don't know if it's going to be the same as before. We don't know if it will be clumped into the loan application like it was in the first round. There is still a lot of questions that are unanswered regarding the actual application process. Additionally, we don't know when it's even going to be open. I think that it could kind of play out one of two ways. Either number one, the SBA could give us kind of a timeline of saying, hey, the application is going to open in 1 week's time, or hey, the application is going to open up in 5 days or 3 days. They may give us a little bit of an advance notice. Or I think kind of more likely is that the SBA just may say, hey, the application's open, go and apply. And I think that that second option, of them just sending out a notice saying, hey, this is open, go apply, I think that that is a very likely scenario that could end up playing out, because that's what happened in the first time around. The second thing that we still don't know about the EIDL is how the $10,000 cash advance will work. Now, like I mentioned earlier, we know that in order to qualify for the second round of EIDL funding, we know that you have to, number one, show a gross revenue decline, you have to come from a low-income community, and you have to have a business that was formed before January 31st, 2020. But for this $10,000 cash advance specifically, we do not know if this will be something that is applied to loans that were taken out over the summer. So if you were somebody who received this cash advance over the summer, will you get that full $10,000? That is something that we still do not know. Now, I think the likelihood of that happening, I think the likelihood of this scenario playing out, where anybody who got the cash advance over the summer will receive the remainder of the funds today in 2021, I think that's highly unlikely. But regardless, the SBA has not released guidelines on this exact topic, and we still don't know how exactly that will end up playing out. Additionally, if you are somebody who applied for the EIDL loan over the summer and you never received any cash advance, will you get some sort of funds today? If you're somebody who has an outstanding application for the EIDL, will your application just carry over to the second round of funding, or will you have to reapply? These are all questions that have still not been answered, and they are important questions, because how these questions are answered will heavily dictate on who needs to apply in the second round of funding and when the application needs to be submitted. For example, if you're somebody that has an outstanding application, and if you submit a second application prematurely, that could potentially throw off all of your applications and essentially make you invalidated for the cash advance as a whole. Whereas if you're somebody who has an outstanding application, you never apply, but you were supposed to apply, that could also cause issues. So these are very, very important aspects of the application process. And the fact is, we still don't know how to approach it moving forward and how these different aspects will affect your eligibility for the cash advance. The next aspect of the application process that we still do not know, and it kind of plays off of the point that I just made, is the question of appeals and letters of reconsiderations. If you're somebody who has an outstanding appeal or an outstanding letter of reconsideration with the SBA regarding the EIDL loan or the EIDL cash advance, will you need to resubmit another application, or will you need to resubmit your letter of reconsideration? This is something that still has yet to be answered, and it's an important question for the same reasons that I mentioned earlier, is that that depending on how this needs to be approached moving forward will heavily dictate what you guys need to do and what this next steps need to be taken. Now, the thing about this next round of EIDL funding is the fact that not only does it provide more funding to the loan program, not only does it provide more funding to the cash advance program, but that also means that it provides more funding for these letters of reconsiderations as well. So if you're somebody who has an outstanding letter of reconsideration, if you have an outstanding appeal with the SBA for your EIDL funds, this is your chance to get that approved, because as the funds have been dwindling down, the SBA has had to be more strict about who they give funds out to. But now with this influx of cash because of this stimulus package, they could potentially send out these funds to more people because of the fact that they just have more access to more money than they did before. And lastly, the question of how will this affect PPP forgiveness? Now, this is something that I talked about in yesterday's video as well regarding what we don't know about the PPP. And I think that this is a very valid question of how will the EIDL cash advance affect your PPP forgiveness, if at all. So if you receive this full $10,000 and you also receive PPP funds and you're able to get the full PPP funds forgiven if it's less than $150,000, will this $10,000 be taken away from that forgiveness? Will it just be in addition to that $150,000 PPP or however much you were approved for? How does that process work? So this is, again, still something that we do not know. I mean, there are very many important questions that need to be answered regarding the exact logistics and how exactly this program will work going forward from here on out. Now, a reminder that the SBA is going to be releasing guidelines on all of these things that we've talked about today in the next couple of days. Per the $900 billion stimulus package, they have 15 days to release these guidelines and to talk about the exact logistical details of the EIDL program moving forward, and that 15-day deadline is quickly approaching. So I expect that we will hear something from the SBA in the next couple of days. I would expect by probably mid next week, if not earlier than that. So like always, I will of course update this channel. I'll make a video on these guidelines once they're introduced by the SBA. But in the meantime, these are still questions that we don't know the answer to, and it's not just that I don't know the answer to them, but nobody does, because it is up to the SBA to determine how they are going to move and work this moving forward. And one last thing before we sign off, I want to address something that I've been seeing in the comment section of my videos quite frequently, and that is the comment of, with the CARES Act, the EIDL program was supposed to give out a flat $10,000 per business owner, per independent contractor, per self-employed individual. They were supposed to just give out a flat $10,000, and the SBA changed that despite the fact that it wasn't what was signed in the bill. And the question and the comment that I've been getting a lot lately is, what is stopping the SBA from doing this exact same thing over again with the second round of funding? And, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if there's anything stopping the SBA from doing this exact same thing over. I would expect that with this second bill, it kind of reiterates to the SBA of, hey, this is what Congress wants you to do. We said it in the CARES Act. We're saying it again. So this is how it needs to be done. But I mean, theoretically, I don't know if there's anything stopping the SBA from doing exactly what they did in the first round of funding. And so I think it will be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. Will the SBA try to kind of change the rules like they did the first time? Will they accept the $900 billion stimulus package as is and just allow for people to get this money as they qualify? Or how will this work moving forward? I think personally for me, I think that they probably will not change it. The big problem with the CARES Act was the fact that the bill was so broad that it allowed for virtually anyone to qualify for $10,000, whereas with this newest bill, it's much more targeted. So I feel as though the SBA won't feel the need to weed out these people themselves because of the fact that it's already targeted per the bill guidelines. And so I don't think that the SBA will feel the need to target that down even further. But it's definitely an interesting question. I think it's definitely a valid question, is what is holding the SBA back from changing these guidelines just like they did the first time? And honestly, I think that the answer is probably nothing, and that it will be up to the SBA to determine how they deal with this going into the rest of 2021. But like always, you guys, I would love to hear your thoughts, your questions. If you have any comments, make sure to leave a comment down below. I will be making a frequently asked question video sometime in the near future. So if you have a question, make sure to leave it down in the comment section. And if you guys are interested in learning about the things that we still do not know regarding the PPP, again, I did do a video on that yesterday, so you should definitely check that out. But like always, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. And I'll see you guys in the next video.